AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Well, I got it.
I got it.
Of course I got it.
I got it right after work.
That's right. I got the COVID-19 vaccine.
Because self-care. I got it because I wanted to get back to my normal.
I was one of the first ones that got it. And now, I'm helping others get theirs.
So let's get it together. Sign up and get your vaccine today, and let's stop COVID in its tracks. Visit IGotItMS.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.
I know to do it when I see Coach Prime and A.D. Robertson standing in the field. That's my last chance to get something rude in before we go live.
Welcome into the Pregame Show. It is your Monday edition of Jackson State basketball. The women and men getting ready to get it on tonight. Charles Bishop and Neely here introducing tonight's basketball game. The dreaded Southern Jaguars invade the Lee Williams Athletics and Assembly Center. Should be a good game tonight. It always feels robbery whenever you talk about Jackson State and Southern. Neely.
Hey, Chuck, this is January 31st, man. Last day of January, and everybody said the Pregame Show was a football show, but we proved them wrong for at least 1 month. We've been here live from the AAC for the home games and still doing live shows for the road games, and you are exactly right, Chuck. The hated Southern Jaguars are in town tonight. The women tip off at 5:30. So if you're in Jackson, plenty of time to get here to the AAC. Men tip off after that at 7:30. Both games, if you're not in the Jackson area, you can watch on the JSU Sports Network. never too late to subscribe and become a member of that to view these games from the high definition broadcast right here with Rob J and others leading that. But the pregame show is just that, the pregame show. So we're here before tip-off. Chuck, people are already coming in. Beautiful weather out there, man. It was 70-something degrees in Jackson today.
Oh, that's golf weather.
Yeah.
Oh, you're killing me. Well, we got storms over here, but never mind that. We get to the game tonight. I'll tell you what, this women's game, we take a look at it. Jackson State 10-6 overall, 8-0 in conference play. A formidable foe tonight with Southern and Lady Jaguars. They're 9-10 overall, but they're 7-1 in SWAC play. This should be, I think, Jackson State's sternest test thus far in this first half of the season.
Yeah, I think, Chuck, a couple of quick hits. You know, you and I talked early in the conference play with Alcorn game when Jackson State hosted Alcorn for the SWAC opener. We talked about not having enough data points to know what these teams were about because as A.D. Robinson said this past weekend, you got 3 schedules in basketball. You got non-conference, conference in the tournament. So all we had to go off of was that non-conference. Now we got enough data points that that record is almost irrelevant at this point. Lady Tigers are undefeated in SWAC play. But this is the weekend, if you will, weekend for basketball, meaning Saturday through Monday, where if they're going to be tested, it's going to be this weekend. And Grambling came in Saturday, and don't look at that final score. It was a test. For the first time this season, the Lady Tigers were down at halftime, down in the first quarter, had to fight back in the third to go ahead and get that lead in the fourth. So these two teams back-to-back, Grambling coming in and Southern coming in for the Lady Tigers are pretty much the test. You can get past these two games with victories. You got a chance to win out and really make some noise going into that tournament and be 3-time defending SWAC champion.
Yeah, we always talk about you really want to be on the uptick as you go into the latter part of February, going into the madness that is March. But I tell you what, the early data points on this first half of the season, all gold stars, all A's for our Jackson State women's team, and another strong performance when you talk about Amisha Williams-Holiday against the Grambling Lady Tigers, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 10 of 13 performance from the field. Amisha Williams-Holiday is cementing her legendary status and looks to be for sure WNBA draft pick.
Now, I was going to touch on that, Chuck. I just said non-conference is now irrelevant at this point, but let's make it irrelevant for a second. The dominant performances she had in November, December, and now coming into SWAC play and continuing that dominant performance, her draft stock is really increasing right before our eyes. And we could have a Lady Tiger selected by the WNBA. One of the key things that you saw with that victory over Grambling, that hard-fought game, is who the Lady Tigers did it without. They were missing one of the true point guards in the league, one of the true guards in the league, score and assist, didn't play. She's in the boot. We'll see if she plays tonight, Deja Rogan. But for you to be missing a key ingredient for your recipe and still come out with a winning dish, if we can go Iron Chef and chop the analogies for a second, it really shows how this team is built with some depth that you can go down a person, a significant person, and still get out with a major victory.
Well, I think one of the questions that does come up, Deja Rogan, she's a significant part of this team. I call her the floor general, but not having her presence out on the court, how did that kind of affect the game early on?
I think it did impact it early on. You know, we have some scorers out there, but sometimes the coach on the floor, the extension of the coach on the floor, the point guard, has to get people in the right places. So I think there was a little bit of chemistry missing in the early part of the game. But, Chuck, we can't take anything away from Grambling. Coach Freddie Murray, native of Jackson, Jim Hill product, he came in here and had those lady Grambling, we don't call them Tigers, the ladies from Grambling ready to play, and they would not miss. They took advantage of every opportunity. They were knocking down threes in mid-range and keeping the defense honest, and they had the lead in that first quarter and at halftime. But the Lady Tigers regained that focus, found that right chemistry from the new lineup without the starting point guard being out there, and you saw them start to chip away at that lead, take the lead, and then add to it. So the final score kind of looked like a dominant victory, but it really wasn't if you look at the first 3 parts of that game.
No doubt about it. And when you take a look at it, we talked about some of a little bit of the chemistry issues at the beginning part of the game. But I tell you what, Kishana Luckett, 16 points, 6 assists. Maya Crump, 14 points, 5 assists and 4 rebounds and 4 blocks. And then Deja Woodard, she was a force coming off the bench. She had a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds. We talk about the depth of this Jackson State women's basketball team. It really showed itself against the Grambling Lady Tigers.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch. I would encourage all the Tiger fans, if you're in the Metro Jackson area, to attend these home games. And if you can't make it to the game, subscribe to the JSU Sports Network because this is like watching the Globetrotters play, man. Like, it is entertaining. They are up and down the court. We're this close to getting a dunk from a Lady Tiger in a game. Like, it's going to happen any game now. Like, they are rebounding and flying around and communicating, over-communicating. Coach Reed and her assistant coaches are energetic. It's a great thing to witness if you can come out in person and witness it. So we always encourage attendance. You know, we got to go into February. Got some significant home games in February. You know, FAMU and Bethune will be coming this way. Then we roll out into March and get ready for the tournament. So lots of exciting basketball left in the month of February here at the AAC. So not too late to be a part of it. Chuck, one thing about this Lady Tigers roster, you talk about depth. When you look at the SWAC leaders in various categories of women basketball, we got 2 and 3 players in the top 10. You know, when it comes to rebounding and blocking, offensive, defensive, rebound, blocking, you got a number 1. But you also got 2 or 3 players in the top 10 in assists, in the top 10 in the steals. And that just shows up on the scoreboard every night.
Hey, you know, you talk about taking a look at tonight's matchup, a study in contrast. You mentioned the Jackson State Lady Tigers. They have top scorers, top rebounders. You can't say the same about the Lady Jaguars, but they are such a solid team. This team is number 2 in the SWAC in total defense, right behind Jackson State, who is number 1. But you talk about they get it done up and down the roster. They do not have a scorer that is in the top 20 in terms of top scorers in the SWAC, as well as rebounders. So it's a very interesting study in contrast, if you will. Take a look at Jackson State and Sutton.
They are about 10 years ago, the San Antonio Spurs or the Memphis Grizzlies, who did not have a person who was leading the league in jerseys sold, didn't have a person with a shoe deal, if you will, but they were running the West because they did it by committee. It was team ball. And so that's the kind of play you're going to see from the Southern Jaguars tonight on the ladies' side of the equation. Like you said, Chuck, they don't have a dominant this or a dominant that, but everybody participates. They don't have this one person you can take out of the game and the game will be over, because it's that Hydra, that 3-headed monster. Another head is going to grow back, and they just find a way to get it done, and they're in the top 2 right behind us in a lot of categories.
Yeah, when you take a look at the Southern Lady Jaguars, they're coming off of a Saturday road win at Alcorn, 65-40. 3 players scored in double figures in that game. Amani McSwain led the Jaguars this past weekend. She had a team-high 13 points and 3 rebounds and only 19 minutes of work. Raven White, 11 points with a game-high 9 rebounds for the Lady Jaguars. And Genovia Johnson, she chipped in 10 points and 3 rebounds. Again, they get it done in a variety of ways, but defense is their calling card for Coach Carlos Funches.
Hey, Chuck, you nailed it. You ain't save anything for it, man. You clean. Ain't no meat left on that bone, Chuck. You did it. Hey, and I know that sometimes there's a little background noise here, but we're live in the AAC. And when I tell you the AAC DJ don't give a damn, like but hey, this is all for the student athletes. The players out there have playlists that they like to warm up to. So he's giving them what they need to get ready. We just got to work around it. But every so often another song comes on. I think he takes that volume from 6 to 10.
It kind of reminds you of the CBS game yesterday, watching the Chiefs and the Bengals when they were doing the halftime report. You couldn't hear anything, but
no. The Rihanna comeback tour is on hold once again, you know. I feel like Rihanna, not Rihanna, I'm sorry, what was her name? Ashanti, yeah. I feel like her doing the national anthem yesterday. Like, I can only hear every other word of myself. Like, I don't know if the crowd, are y'all with me? What are we doing?
No doubt about it. Well, I'll tell you what, there should be a tremendous matchup when you talk about the Lady Tigers and the Lady Jaguars getting it on tonight. 2 very evenly matched teams, but we'll see can our Lady Tigers come out on top tonight. Should be a stern test. We flip the page, Neely, and we kind of take a look at the men. The men, they've stubbed their toe recently. They've lost 3 in a row now. taking on this Southern Jaguar team that is coming off of a road loss to Alcorn. Showdown this past Saturday with Alcorn. They come up short, losing to Alcorn 68-64. This is a Southern Jaguar team that comes into this game 6-3 in SWAC play.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get. They are a dominant team, and just when you think that they are going to run away with the SWAC, they drop a game or they have a sloppy performance. But we know that this rivalry extends way past football, that they're going to come in here thinking they're taking on a weaker Tiger team on the men's side, and they're going to try to put up numbers. I think our key to the game is always, Chuck, you're going to hear it repeatedly on this show. We got to find 60 points. We got to find 61 points. We can hold people to 65 and less. Our problem is getting the offense going. We've had a couple of close games. Our record really does not reflect the talent of this team. So at some point in this month of February, this is the last day of January, but some point in this month of February, we got to click and start finding 60-plus points a game as we go into that tournament.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, I think you touched on it, and I went back and I took a look at the stats. In Jackson State's wins, over two of the more successful teams in the SWAC, Texas Southern and Prairie View, you had the consistent play of Javius McKinnis, but you had different people scoring, namely Terrence Lewis, who came up big in that weekend series against Prairie View and Texas Southern. But since he has not been able to get back into double-digit scoring, you've got to find someone else that's going to help James McKinnis, not only with the rebounding, but with scoring, putting the ball in the hole.
There it is, man. Jay Mack, I call him the sunrise. You can count on it. The sun is going to rise tomorrow, Chuck. I don't care how bad of a day you had today, the sun is coming up tomorrow. Jay Mack is going to get you double-digit rebounds. He's going to get you double-digit points. He's going to get you 3 to 4 blocks and maybe even a couple of steals. But those second chance points that he's producing on the offensive board, we got to turn that into points more consistently. And we still haven't had a consistent double-digit scorer game in and game out to match his rebounding output. Again, like I said about the Lady Tigers, a number of players in the top 10 in different categories. But when you look on the men's side, statistically speaking, Jay Mack is the only one that's showing up in the top 10 in the SWAC. We're not even in the top 10 in assists. So we got to get more production from our guards, finding the open shooters. And those shooters got to knock it down, because what defense is doing is, okay, we're going to hold Jay Mack 15 or less and let y'all beat us, and we're not beating them. We got to find a score. We got to get some more points. We got to find a way to get 60-plus. I said it before. I say it again. Playing these Southern Jaguars tonight, the answer is going to be somewhere between 60 and 65 points. Can we hold them to that? Which our defense, we play strong defense. It's amazing how poor our offensive is, but we rank high in defense in the SWAC. But we can't get the ball in the bucket consistently enough to be where we should be in the SWAC standings. But as we say, and as A.D. Robinson said this past weekend, 3 seasons in the SWAC, non-conference play, conference play in the SWAC tournament. We're in the middle of conference play. It is not too late to get a good seed for the tournament, because as you said, Chuck, we have shown we can beat and run with the better teams in the SWAC. Anything can happen late February and when you get to that tournament.
Hey, anything can happen when you get late February, especially when you get into the tournament. But now is the time to turn it on. Jackson State only shot 28.6% against Grambling. And I'm reminded of an anecdote the late, great Orsman Jordan once said, when you're not putting the ball in the hole, you gotta get closer to the rim. And I said, Coach, what do you mean by that? Hey, you got to get in the lane. You got to be aggressive. You got to create some fouls. You got to get to the free throw line. And I think that's going to be huge. Can our guards do a little bit like Tristan Jarrett did last year? Get in the lane, create some contact, get some fouls, get to the free throw line, kind of get the juices flowing a little bit, and get that offense up and go.
Charles Bishop is not just the stat man. He is the czar of the telestrator, ladies and gentlemen, because that's exactly what you got to do, Chuck. I don't mind an early on heat check. The ladies, they have 4 quarters. The men play 2 halves. First 5 minutes of the game, take the temperature, dial 1 from 3, dial a long mid-range. But if you see it's not falling, start going to the basket. Basketball like you and I have discussed before, I understand what the Golden State Warriors are doing, and I love it. It's entertaining. But basketball is always going to be won by the team that's dominant, the closest to the basket, whether they're scoring or rebounding. So if the shot is not falling, get a head fake, a pump fake, get him in the air, go to the basket. One or two things are going to happen. You're going to make the bucket or get fouled. That is changing the way they have to defend the game, getting players in foul trouble early, and you're going to the free throw line, which actually helps you get your rhythm and your shooting confidence going. When you can make them standing still from 15 feet out, it gives you a little confidence when you're shooting on the move from 25 feet out. So you're exactly right, Chuck. If the shot ain't falling early on, go to the basket and go aggressive.
No doubt about it. And from the men's side of the ball, Neely, who do you think might be tonight's pick to click, if you will, to give JV some help with regards to the offensive side of the ball?
I look for two things. I want to see at halftime how many assists does Jonas James have, and I want to see how many shots. Key word, I didn't say makes. I want to see how many shots Mal Weidman has taken, because again, you kind of got to shoot your way out of a slump. And in the box scores, a shot is a layup just as much as it is as a deep three or a long two. But we got to have a guy that has a green light mentality. You know, we can't just sit there and pass the ball around, you know, for 20 seconds and no, you shoot, no, you shoot. You know, like Chip and Dale trying to go through a door. No, after you go. Somebody's got to be the aggressor. So I want to see halftime, how many assists does Jonas James have? How many rebounds, second opportunities, particularly on offense, does J Mac have? But who is that third person who said, you know what? Hey, if we're going to drop one, we're going to drop one with me shooting it.
Yeah.
You know, get a Ryan Lothridge, shout out to Ryan Lothridge out there. Get a Ryan Lothridge, Lancey Hunter kind of mentality going. And, hey, man, what's the worst thing? The worst thing that can happen is I'm going to miss.
Right.
Well, we've already been doing that. So go to the basket, get some confidence, get some fouls, and let's see what happens. But I think the key to this to go along with J Mac is not his score, just his rebounds, but Jonas James' assists. Who else is he getting involved? Where is he positioning on the floor, and are they knocking those shots down?
You mentioned a name, Mal Weidman, in terms of the number of attempts that he gets up. But I got a couple other names that I'm looking at to try to get them up and going that I think is going to be huge. And I mentioned him earlier. Terrence Lewis, he had a huge weekend against Prairie View and Texas Southern. Let's see if we can get him back into double digits. And I think another individual, Chance Moore, coming off the bench. He can provide a tremendous scoring punch if he gets lathered up and gets going. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get both of those guys somehow involved into the offense and get them up and going tonight against this tough Southern basketball team. Once again, they are at the top, if you will, within the SWAC standards. But when you take a look at their players, young man Jaden Sadler, he led a huge comeback against Alcorn, 18 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds and 2 steals. They also had Terrell Williams, who scored 12 points, who added 3 rebounds. And then Brendan Brooks, he went ham from behind the three-point line, 4 for 4, 12 points from behind the three-point line. So you take a look at those guys along with their leading scorer, Tyrone Lyons, and it becomes a tough Southern team that you have to deal with, that you got to find some offensive scoring punch.
Chuck, once again, they passed the turkey down and all the meat gone. You got everything you could off that, boy. Like, you clean that bone. What you want me to say? That's exactly right. Hey, that's what I was gonna say. Hey, look, you got my notes.
Hey,
that's what I was going to say.
Hey, I make sure to look at your notes before I start
talking.
Man,
you did the damn thing. You summed it up. That's exactly what's got to take place. Let me rewind, because you mentioned a couple of X-factor players for Jackson State men. You know, we talked about Jonas James and his potential with assists. But if Terrence gets going, you get a couple more guys. Chuck, this team, we could win by 15. Like, we are built to win by 15. It doesn't have to be a 1-point win, a 5-point win, an 8-point win. If we get number of assists up, aggressive shooting, an X factor to pitch in with J Mac, I mean, you're looking at a 13 to 18-point victory tonight, you know, versus a 2-point or 3-point loss. But the players you named for the Southern Jaguars are the ones that we got to watch, the ones I'm sure they've done film study on. Right now, you know, again, we always talk about data points. You've reached a point in the SWAC schedule where now people have had like opponents. We played Alcorn first.
Yeah.
You know, Southern got rolling. Southern just lost Alcorn. We know both those teams. You know, there's some comparison things we can do in the film room. So now it's just time to, hey, the wins are behind us. The losses are behind us. One game at a time mentality. And the beautiful part is, Chuck, and that's what's so great about playing in the AC in front of your home crowd. Win the AC. Win the games at home.
There you go.
Starting February, take care of the games at home, and we're sitting pretty for the tournament, and you're peaking at the right time. But tonight is going to be a test.
Tonight is going to be a test. Well, I tell you what, Neely, a lot of stuff going on this week in Jackson State Athletics. Of course, everybody knows Wednesday, February 2nd, it is National Signing Day. You got to get the boogeyman laugh with that. So that is going to be a fun day for a lot of our Jackson State fan base in terms of what this Jackson State staff has gone out and done with regards to recruiting. So looking forward to February 2nd. Of course, AD Ashley Robinson did a great job in terms of recapping why we are looking at playing Southern in 23 and 24 in Birmingham, Alabama. But, I mean, just a lot of exciting, great things going on right now around Jackson State Athletics.
Yeah, lots of great things. I'll hop on the AD thing before we go touch on signing day. Man, shout out to the literally hundreds of people who have watched the live broadcast and hundreds of people who've watched the reposts of just those segments dealing with the Birmingham contract. And shout out to all the folks who had to change your heart and said they totally get it and amen and rah. And an extra shout out to those guys who still just don't get it. Like, I don't know how much clearer we can make it. We had the AD on. He made it crystal clear, but there are some folks who are just hell-bent against this thing and not understanding that we are not moving games from Jackson. These are games that are taking place in the off year against Southern. Birmingham, hats off to them. They stepped up.
Yeah.
Now, some other city, you know, so after those 2 years, we'll go back to home and home. And then, so 4 years from now, somebody else can step up and put your bid and see what takes place. But I say salute to AD Ashley Robinson, his counterpart Banks down in Southern Baton Rouge, Commissioner McClellan, City of Birmingham, to find a way to keep this rich rivalry going, the Boombox Classic, if you will, between Jackson State and Southern, because as AD Robinson said, you get to pick one person from the West that's just going to be your annual game. You can always play them. Naturally for us, that's Alcorn, an in-state rivalry, lots of history. But we had to find a way to keep that Southern game on the schedule, and Birmingham stepped up and made that happen. So great job.
Yeah, like you say, you take your hats off to the city of Birmingham in terms of making that game happen. A game that is part of the tapestry of HBCU football. You have to see it, and we're going to continue to see it in years 23 and 24 in Birmingham, Alabama. So looking forward to that. But February 2nd, man, woohoo!
It's here. Today is January 31st. We're a couple days from February 2nd. You and I have a pretty exciting February 1st. Tomorrow there'll be some special stuff happening leading up to February 2nd, so y'all stay tuned for that. And Chuck, on top of February 2nd, what you're not going to convince me is that the DJ ain't seen me over here and just turned the volume up a little more in the AC. Like, I know he just did it. I know he just did. Chuck, he blowing it out here, man. Normally the boom is right here. The boom is not in here tonight. But the DJ, man, he all kind of crunk. But February 2nd is around the corner. Few more items under the Christmas tree, Tiger fans, Tiger Nation. So be prepared for another historic signing class, 2021. That first class with Shador Sanders and Shiloh Sanders and the transfer portal, that guys that came in, outstanding class. You're going to have same impact with this class. You know, a lot of these guys were announcing in December, and you kind of forget about them in the totality of a class. But when you look at that final list, 5 p.m. February 2nd, I think Tiger Nation is going to be impressed with who we got coming in and the immediate impact that they can bring.
And, of course, you can follow all the signings around HBCU football right here on the Black College Sports Network. You and I will be popping our head in from time to time to talk about some of the Jackson State signings, but looking forward to what the Black College Sports Network brings with regards to HBCU signings. So looking forward to all of that going on this week with regards to Jackson State football as we take you right up to tip-off, which will be at 5:35:25 now. Neely, we got the women going first, man. Give me your picks to click in the women's game.
Well, Lady Tigers are out in their red tops, looking just swaggerlicious out there. The Southern Jaguars, they've left the floor to go to the locker room. Lady Tigers are still warming up. Keys to the victory for the Lady Tigers once again. Points in the paint, offensive rebounding by Misha, number 4. The GOAT, WNBA prospect. We're going to look, I'm not sure. I didn't check in with the coaches. No, I see Rogan on the bench right now with her boot on, so she's out tonight. She's not dressed. So will we have that continued chemistry from the win over Grambling now that those point guards have been starting point guards and got up with a victory? So hopefully we don't have that first and second quarter jitters we had without the traditional point guard out there.
No doubt. And of course, Coach Tamika Reed, she implores our team. You can't be scared. You got to get out there and get it done. So I love the videos that come from the women's basketball team, man. You just can't help but get fired up listening to Coach Reed.
So, we got 2:50 before tip-off, and we might not stay the whole time with this particular episode. But on the men's side, again, 60 points. Who can step up and help J Mack and get something in double digits, whether it's assists from Jonas James or whether it's another double-digit scorer out there? J Mack is going to get you double-digit rebounds, probably more than likely going to get you double-digit points. We need somebody to give us 8 to 12 assists. We need somebody to get us 8 to 12 additional points, the rest by committee. We get 60 plus 1, we win this game.
Hey, that's a great place to put a pin in this. It is Jackson State and Southern. The women, they're getting ready to tip off here at 5:30. Of course, listen out for these names for the Southern Jaguars. They are led by Brittany Rose, 10.4 points per game. Monty McSwain, Raven White, and Genovia Johnson. On the men's side, keep a listen out for these names for the Southern Jaguars. Jaden Sadler, Carol Williams, and Brendan Brooks are the guys to keep an eye on, along with their leading scorer, Tyrone Lyons. Neely, man, another great preview to Jackson State Southern here on the pregame show, man. Nobody does it like us.
Hey,
bro.
I tell you what this is like for me anytime we play Southern. It reminds me of Tombstone. I hate them. I know I hate them. I want to beat them in everything. Batman, tiddlywinks.
Tiddlywinks.
I don't
exactly.
care what it is. I want to beat those from, I was about to use some colorful language. I want to beat those folks from down there in Baton Rouge. So we get 2 chances tonight. Southern Jaguars are here at the AAC. Lady Tigers are now 1 minute from tip-off. So we'll be signing off and encourage you to go over to the Tiger Sports Network, the Jackson State Sports Network, to view that game. If you're here in Jackson, you still got time to make it to their game. Plenty of time to make it to the boys' game. If you're out there around the nation, again, subscribe to the Jackson State Sports Network, and you can watch these games in their entirety live via your internet stream.
No doubt about it. Brought to you by the colorful play-by-play, the SWAC Hall of Famer Rob J on the Tiger Sports Network. So we are going to sign off here on the pregame show, as it is Jackson State and Southern. Looking forward to it. It's Bishop, it's Neely. It's the pregame show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll see you Saturday.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's part. It's the Pregame.